Nobody knows what surety bonds are. After this, you'll know more than 99% of the people in the world. What a surety bond is, it's essentially a three-party contract that serves as a guarantee. Stop worrying about the base and start worrying about customers a little quicker. Just get right into it and fix it as you go. Bonds don't work that way. They're written assuming that there's no risk, right? For most people, delays are way more costly than a little bit of a bond cost for their contractor.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Logbook podcast. I'm your host, Zachary. You can find me on social at It's Zachary. In each episode, I bring on experts from various industries for you to learn about their strategies and insights driving extra business growth. Today, we're joined by Gary Eastman, founder and president of Axcess Surety and Swiftbonds, two companies helping businesses, contractors, and individuals navigate the world of surety bonds, a $22 billion industry that a lot of people have never heard of, but they technically encounter it every single day without knowing about it. And Gary's an attorney with an MBA and a JD. We spent over 17 years serving as a general counsel for national and international companies, including several Fortune 500 companies. And that front row seat to how business handle financial risk is what actually eventually led him to build not only one company, but two companies, licensed in all 50 states, having served more than 20,000 clients, and facilitate over $1 billion in surety bonds and contract value. Whether it's a contractor bidding on a government project, a cannabis dispensary getting a license, or an executive managing an estate, Gary's company is probably one of those behind the scenes making sure that there is a financial guarantee in place here. But Gary, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Welcome aboard.
Hey, thank you so much for having us, Zachary. I really appreciate it.
Cool. Well, one of the things that I always love to do, Gary, because this is a business entrepreneurship podcast, one of my famous questions I always like to ask is, because you've obviously been around the block, you've been in the space for quite a while. I'd love to hear, like, if you had to restart your companies from scratch, like today, knowing everything that you know, what's like kind of like the one thing that you feel you would do differently or go like a different way about?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. So if we were to do something differently today, I think that in the beginning, we would have spent less time worrying about different, ways that we were implementing the basics of business and jump really more into focusing on customers better, as well as, developing partnerships quicker.
I love that. Like speed to execution, to put it very simply, and not like
exactly. So stop worrying about the base and start worrying about customers a little quicker. Just get right into it and fix it as you go.
Yeah, it's like the people that spend like 2 weeks building a website, you're like getting a logo up and running when they should be just prospecting, doing the hard work.
That's exactly right.
I love that. So diving into a bit like more like your company, because you've been in the space for a while, and for a lot of people, I'm going to assume they don't know what surety bonds are in like the first place. And imagine that's a lot of our listeners, and I'd love to like for you to like walk us through like what that looks like when someone comes to you. Like what does that process look like from the moment a contractor, for example, realizes they're like, hey, like I need a bond. Like what am I going to do about this?
Yep, it's a great thing. So yeah, nobody knows what surety bonds are. After this 2-minute explanation, you'll know more than 99% of the people in the world. So what a surety bond is, it's essentially a three-party contract that serves as a guarantee. And so what happens is in federal projects that are over $125,000, it's required. And then of course, a lot of states have similar laws. So what it is when you're working on a federal project, say for example, building a school, what you have to do is you, the contractor, go out to the school, and then you get someone who guarantees that the project's going to be done on time, and everybody's going to get paid. That includes, subcontractors and material vendors. That's what the bond does. And so the surety is the one that's guaranteeing that the contractor is going to complete it according to the terms and, on time and pay everybody. And what's good about a bond as compared with a guarantee, with a guarantee, you have to make sure that they're done and you've exhausted any avenues. That's not how it works with a bond. You go directly to the surety to say, hey, here's a breach. We need to get this fixed right away. And what that does is it allows a couple things. One, it guarantees that, one, you have very competitive bidding, right? Because, you don't have to worry about whether these people are just going to fold, because obviously there's a third party guaranteeing this. And the third party is these huge insurance companies. think all the big ones. And then, of course, then the project gets done on time. You don't have to worry about timeliness, right? Because having a road being out for an additional 6 months is a bad thing. Having schools be delayed, past the school year, also a bad thing. So it guarantees timeliness, as well as there's not even going to be litigation holding things up. So that's the benefit of bonds, and that's why they exist all over the world.
I love that. And there seems to be like a lot of confusion around like bonds and like surety bonds and like insurance. Like a lot of people are probably going to assume like, hey, it's probably the same thing, or there's like one that kind of replaces like the other. And I'm assuming there's probably a distinction that is to be made for like business owners here. Like what's kind of like the risk of getting that wrong and just getting like one of them that might not even be the good one they should be getting?
Yep. No, that's a great question. So a lot of people think of bonds technically as a subset of insurance, right? But they act in completely different ways. Insurance, if you want to think about it from a broad level, is risk sharing. So, you write 100 policies, someone's going to have that fire you're going to pay out. Bonds don't work that way. They're written assuming that there's no risk, right? Because if you did, the premiums would be so high you couldn't, and nobody could afford it. And so that's the major distinction. This isn't risk sharing. It's I'm guaranteeing that this individual or the company is going to be able to get this done. And so that's the major difference. Insurance kind of protects the company, while a bond protects, the owner, right, to make sure it gets done timely. The benefit of bonds, though, as compared with insurance is just in case. Bonds also provide assurance to the owner that you're financially stable because somebody's guaranteeing that you will do your work and on time, and you have the financial wherewithal, so they can see that, hey, if you're bonded, then you're in a lot more stable type of a company and can really do some good work.
Yeah. And like in your professional experience, like would you recommend someone to have like both of those, like the insurance and like the bond, or it's more really like a case by case basis type scenario?
Yeah, so for a lot of companies, they like to be both what's called, for many of them, they want to be the triumvirate of licensed, bonded, and insured. And so if you're, the license you have to have, let's say you're just a plumber, right? I get, licensed by my city. Obviously, I need to be insured to protect against, potential risks of loss or, personal injury or workers' comp. But then when you're also bonded, that's a signal to your client that you're stable. Right. And so we provide that bond that says, hey, use this as a marketing tool. We believe in you. Your customers should believe in you. This provides some assurance to them.
Interesting. I never saw it as like it's like a social proof. I mean, I'm not sure social proof is like the right term, but in a way it's like we're so confident in like what we're doing, and like the company we're working with as well is like very confident that we're actually going to get this done for you, to put it very simply.
Yep, absolutely. It's a major piece of, and it really is social proof. It's just the old school social proof that does exactly that. It says, hey, somebody is standing behind me that says that we're okay.
And like, I'm actually curious, for more like federal, like government oriented type like contract, is this something that's actually like required from like a provider, like when working with them?
Yeah, when you work with the federal government, if the job is more than $125,000, then it's required. It's a rule under the Miller Act. States have passed similar rules for jobs that are over a certain size. You're also seeing more and more private jobs that, where the government's not involved at all, have bond requirements. And the reason for that is exactly what we talked about. You're hiring somebody, now they're going to finish this job because there's somebody standing behind them. It costs you just a little bit more, but you get the whole benefit of that, company that's really solid and can get the work done on time. And, for most people, delays are way more costly than a little bit of a bond cost for their contractor.
Yeah. Yeah. And now that I'm getting like my university class, like surety bonds, like it kind of sounds like most people probably should have that by a default. Like it should be standard practice that you have that with what like you're doing. I mean, it's only like pros, to put it very simply.
Yeah, it really is a great way to have a guarantee. And so for many people, having a bond on a job makes sense. So the weird thing is most people are used to residential real estate building, and bonds are kind of rare there. They do exist, but they're rare. But on the commercial side, we really recommend owners to do this. And so we have started working with a lot of people that build out like commercial real estate. And we're saying, get those people bonded, because being delayed by 6 months is not having tenants for 6 months. That's where all your cost is. It's not this extra couple of percent. For a normal person living in a house, they don't want to pay the extra couple percent because it's big money to them. But for commercial stuff, you have a real business. You want people paying all along. You get that bond and stuff. And so we're seeing a lot of the people that are a little bit more cash flow savvy really move in that way.
Yeah, because it affects their bottom line like very heavily if it doesn't end up being on time and there's like all these delays. So, I mean, it's like insurance. It's worth taking it. Like, it depends what type of insurance that you get. But in my experience, it's always worth it getting insurance because you never know what's going to happen. It's better to be safe. And it's like when you put your seatbelt, you're like, hey, like, I don't think I'm going to crash, but if I crash, then hopefully I'll be fine here. But one of the things one of the things I thought was interesting though is for like the different types of surety bonds, there's a lot. There's like what? I think I saw like it was around like 25,000, which I thought was like pretty wild. Like beyond just like the construction space, what are like some industries that or like situation where a lot of business owners are either required to have it and they don't even know that, or it's like an industry that you see it like very often it being used?
Okay, that's a great question. We always throw out the $25,000 number. Some people have estimated up to 35,000, and that's got to be a lot. When the industry itself doesn't even know how many there are. So, where we see this a lot is, we've been talking about kind of contract bonds, but there's also what we call the license and permit bonds. People that need bonds for, that, as I said, that electrical, contractor just needs a license bond. You see them for restaurants that need bonds to sell liquor. Gas stations that use it to sell gas, for distribution of fuel. You mentioned cannabis early on. You have to, in order to sell cannabis in nearly every state, you have to have a bond to guarantee that you're going to pay your taxes. For court bonds, there are bonds if you have a probate estate where somebody needs to make sure that they don't, take all the money and, as they say, abscond to Mexico. You have to put up a bond if you lose a case and you appeal it. There's a famous case last year where Donald Trump did this. He lost a case and had to put up a huge bond. And so that was significant that finally somebody did for him. So, bonds just keep appearing in all these little different areas of the world. And many times it's just for small businesses. They come in, they get a bond from us. Sometimes they just see it as pretty simple to get, and we try to make it simple for them, but it's all over the place.
Yeah. Is there like one industry in particular that you see oftentimes a lot of like business owners or contractor, different profession, doesn't really matter, that they're like, oh, like I needed this, like I didn't even know, and then maybe they come scrambling to you like, Gary, like I need this, I didn't even know about it. Because I feel there's probably a lot of those types of situations.
Tons of those. We see it in restaurants a lot. So people set up a restaurant. They don't realize they need a bond for, one, to pay their taxes typically, and then two, for if they're going to sell liquor, which most restaurants do. So those are two that they need that they don't know about. So those are the ones we see the most for people who are just super surprised, unless they've been in the business a while.
Yeah, because I wouldn't think a restaurant would need to get like bonds. Like that's definitely not one of the first things I'm thinking about when you're setting up a restaurant. And I'm pretty sure anyone listening that runs a restaurant or has run one probably didn't think of that when they started.
Yeah, nobody does. And I'll give you a great example. I have a buddy who actually is in the surety space, right? He's an underwriter, owns a restaurant, and had totally forgotten that they need bonds for their restaurant, even though he actually works in this stuff. So it just surprises people all the time.
Yeah, it's like you said, there's 25,000, but there's probably 35,000 people don't even know about. So it's like an industry that's like consistently evolving. You're finding out like new things. For some people, I guess it's just like hitting them in the face, like, oh, I probably should be getting a surety bond when they just learn about it here. But just like shifting gears a little bit, going more to with everything that's going on right now with tariffs, material cost, a labor shortage. how is that like all showing up in like the surety bond like world? Are you seeing like more claims or contractors getting harder to bond? Like what should people in more like the construction and like real estate like be paying attention to right now?
Okay. So let me answer the quick question is, do we see people getting harder to get bonded? The answer to that, short answer to that is yes, right?
Okay.
So, just the economy is not going as full guns as it was. There's also a secondary effect of people that had their student loans abated for a long, long time. Well, now that that's being reported again, that's affecting their credit scores. And that is one of the components that many, sureties look at. So it is harder to get bonds. But the second part is, what should people be looking at? And there are a couple of reasons why bonds are so important, because there are some material shortages that are starting to creep up. So let's just take roofing, for example. Roofing has a tight constraint on supply currently, and that's due to the hurricanes and things in Florida, North Carolina. Still from Katrina in New Orleans. I mean, just some of this build out. This is before the California wildfires, so that's going to constrain stuff more. Plus, now we have oil shocks, which affects shingles as well. So now we're going to have price escalations. Again, that's just a constraint on the system. So that's one thing you see for materials. For subs, because of the changes in the immigration policy, right? We've seen subs leave the industry, right? Or just say they're just retiring and saying we're not going to deal with it, or we can't find people, or whatever else. So many times, we see people getting bonds on jobs because what they're really trying to do is guarantee that the people that they hire, their subs are good, right? Because sometimes it's not your general contractor that you're worried about. It's that HVAC guy or the plumber or the roofer.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure that those people show up, because we have had many reports in many different areas. Like in our local area, there are a couple of just subcontractors that left altogether, and that's left general contractors scrambling. So that bonds kind of guarantee, hey, they're going to get your replacement quickly, so that those bond penalties don't come in.
Interesting. So for those people in that space, like roofing specifically, like it becomes okay. Like I probably need one because everything that's going on with like labor and everything, maybe they're not going to show up. Maybe they're not going to be doing the job, and that it's basically, I mean, like again, like the social proof, like a reassuring. Like say we have a very good company, we're in standing, we have a very good talent like in house, like we're going to be delivering. There's a lot of companies that obviously they're hiring like a lot of subs, and then maybe they're not going to be showing up. They're not going to be able to deliver. There's going to be delays, but it's like a mark of like confidence. Like, hey, we can actually deliver. We're backed by bonds. Like we actually will do this properly. And I think this even becomes a differentiator for companies. Like, is this something that you see often with like clients where it's like, hey, we're obviously backed. We have surety bonds. Like this is a social proof factor. Like I know in construction and everything like that, as you mentioned, that's like a big one, especially for like commercial jobs, roofing, etc. But is there any other like common industry that you find yourself, you're like, hey, that's a very good social proof for like any people in there?
Yeah, construction is the most common.
Okay.
And that's the one where we actually see it being more and more available to people. And this is where the private people are coming into play, and why we're seeing that expand, is that they're going in and saying, look, we can't afford a year delay. So we need bonds to guarantee that things are getting done. And that, as part of that, the underwriting has changed so that we don't just ask questions of the particular company. Many times we're saying, hey, do you have people already in place? Not are you going to hire people, but are they already there? And that's a difference, right? Some people are like, well, we'll hire, and that's good thinking. That's a lot different than saying I have a crew identified for this job. And so that's changed how the underwriting has been done, and quite frankly, it's led to a lot of people not bidding on jobs because they didn't have crews identified, and it's also led to larger clients or larger companies vetting their subs through bonds, knowing that, hey, they actually have this available and they can do the job.
Yeah, and I feel that ends up being like a plus for like any like customer people that those people are working with, because you're guaranteeing good work being done. You're guaranteeing that there's not going to be any delays. You're making sure that you have a crew in place, that you're not going to be scrambling on to try to get people that might be able to do the job correctly. It's like, okay, we have the entire team. Like, we're going to crush it for you. We're going to do an amazing job. Like, you should be working with us. And it just allows that the company that are actually doing good work to get rewarded for doing good work, and obviously backing that up with like surety bonds here, which I think is kind of interesting.
And we see a lot of repeat jobs because of that. So we have clients that will just get repeat jobs over and over and over because they do good work and they're bonded. They know they're doing good work. And so those large general contractors keep hiring those same folks, because you have high reputation, but, which bonds lead to that as well. And so, they know, hey, I can just get it done this way. Yes, it may cost a little bit more, but I don't care. I need the job done. I'm moving to the next job. That leads to increased velocity. So a slightly smaller margin, if you have more velocity, is worth a lot more.
I love that. I'd be curious, Gary, any like pointers, tips, advice that you would have for like anyone that's like, hey, not sure if I need some surety bonds, like should I be looking into this? Like any advice or anything like that you have for business owners, contractors, or developers or anything like that when it comes to just making sure that they have everything in check? Like whether it's they need to get some insurance, whether they need to get some surety bonds, any like parting words of advice that you have for those people?
Yeah, I always think it comes back to a business decision. And so as I tell people, the problem with surety bonds is that it's a paperwork intensive business, right? So I tell people it's not anything but paperwork. However, once you get over that little hurdle, what we find is that from a developer perspective, they like bonds because they can get their stuff done. From a contractor perspective, they like bonds. One, it's social proof that they can do it. And then two, they can also bid on government jobs where there's higher margins, right? And so we find that when our clients start bidding on work, they never stop because they like those additional margins. Plus, they can also use that as proof to everybody else, hey, we do good work. And then for all of everybody else, it's, hey, we like bonds because it guarantees that we're moving forward and we're not going to hit those sticking points. And what we don't want to have is that 60, 90, 120 day lull. And that's where a lot of problems come in. So it just kind of smooths things out for everybody.
I love that. Well, Gary, I really appreciate you coming on the show and educating us, because I'll be honest with you, I didn't have too much of an idea exactly how surety bonds and everything work. I think I have a better idea now, and I hope our listeners will get that same feeling and experience here. But for anyone that wants to like get in touch with you, or they're like, hey, like I think I need like a surety bonds, like where should be they're looking at, how they should be getting in contact with you here?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, they can get a hold of us. We've got our website, swiftbonds.com and axcess-surety.com. We're also on all of the socials, and we're more than happy to just talk to people about bonds. We do a lot of education for our clients and prospective clients and just people we like to talk to. And so more than happy to just get on the phone and chat with you about it.
I love it. So we're going to put that in the show notes. So if anyone wants to reach out directly, get in touch with Gary, they can obviously do that here. But to your listeners, if you've enjoyed this episode, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, leave a review, comment, all that fun stuff. Really appreciate you tuning in here. And then until then, keep pushing, and we'll see you in the next one.